How would Christianity have been different if we only had Mark's gospel? This is an interesting question, since scholars tell us that Mark's was the first written of the four gospels currently in the New Testament, and that was at least another decade before the next gospel was composed. This means that for a time, there were Christian communities that only had Mark's gospel upon which to build their faith, their practice, and their understanding of who Jesus was. How would their understanding have differed from believers today who have access to all four Gospels? Let's start by looking at the first few verses of chapter 1. Here in verse 4, John the Baptizer appears in the wilderness, and he is proclaiming a baptism of repentance for the forgiveness of sins. Now, this is radical. The temple in Jerusalem is where one should go to get their sins absolved, not some wild man in the desert. But the crowds are drawn to him and they're showing up. Verse 5, and the whole Judean region and all the people of Jerusalem were going out to him and were baptized by him in the river Jordan, confessing their sins. So John's baptism is based on three principles: confession, repentance, and forgiveness. John is preparing the people. Now in verse 9, a man comes walking up seeking John's baptism. Here is how he is described. In those days, Jesus came from Nazareth of Galilee. If you only had Mark's gospel, you don't really know who Jesus is, because Mark has not given us any backstory. There are no genealogies in Mark connecting Jesus to any of the heroes of the Hebrew Bible, such as David or Abraham. There's no miraculous conception or virgin birth story. In fact, Joseph doesn't appear anywhere in the gospel. And yet Jesus comes and submits to John's baptism. Verse 9 says that Jesus was baptized by John in the Jordan. So here's the first question. John's baptism was based on confession, repentance, and forgiveness. Why would Jesus need any of those three things?